Hi guys, and welcome back to my War Games hobby channel. You may have seen a week or so ago I put on a game of Pikeman's Lament using 15mm, my old 15mm Poles and Ottoman Turks. It went well, although I rolled really well for the Poles. I rolled rubbish for the Turks, so I feel a bit guilty about that. So I thought I'd have another game. But to make it different, I want to try something a bit more ambitious, and I've decided to have a large game to see how well Pikeman's Lament works in a large game. And it should be okay, but I'm going to show you the table in a minute and I'll explain what I'm going to do. And I just wanted to see how it went. So anyway, come and have a look at the table. Okay, so here we are. You can see, I hope the light's okay. I've not got any lights on in this room because I tried it earlier and I was going to give it a flickering on the video. So I'm going to try it without lights. If it comes up a bit dark, then I'll have to redo it. But here's the game. Now you can see I've got a very large army. I've got 3 divisions in each. Okay, the Poles, the right wing, their centre, and the left wing, and the Turks, left wing, centre, right wing. Now I've done 24 points for each wing divisions and 30 points, slightly more, into centre, as they've got the leader with those. And we're just going to see how it goes. And let me go through what I've got here because I've done a couple of other changes as well. Right, let's cover the right wing of the Poles first. We've got only 4 units here. They're all worth 6 points each because they are gallopers or winged hussars that are acting as gallopers in this rule, and they've been upgraded to elite gallopers. I've also given them the free upgrade to make them aggressive, which means they get an attack value of 3+ instead of 4+, but they do gain the wild charge, which I think reflects nicely how those troops would be. There's also a unit of veteran dragoons to support them, so that's 24 points. Let's go over to the Polish left wing. Slightly different setup. All these units are only worth 4 points each, and that's why there's 6 of them. And that's 4 units of cavalry, which I'm going to make trotters, not gallopers, because these 2 here are sort of reiters, so they're these like mercenary Germans, and they've got pistols. And the Panzerni, although were aggressive, they had bows as well, and they often used to shoot before they charged in. So I think the trotters works better for them than anything else. Then we've got 2 units of not upgraded dragoons, so that comes to 24 points. In the centre for the Poles, we've got 2 units of winged hussars at the back. Again, they're upgraded gallopers, so they're 12 points. And then, forget the red ones for a minute, the infantry there, and the regimental gun, all 4 points each. And then this is an upgrade unit of infantry, the ones dressed in red, so they're like guard, if you like, and they've been made veteran. So that's 30 points. So that's the Poles. Come over to the Turks. On their left wing, they've got the Sipahi cavalry. Used to be used in a way that they would never charge frontally other cavalry unless they weakened them first. So what the Sipahi used to do is open fire with their bows, and if they weakened an enemy enough, they would then charge in. So I think the trotters works really well for those. So we've got 3 units there of normal trotters. And then the other 2 units, we've got an upgraded unit of veteran trotters behind them in red. The leader should be with that unit really. And we've got another unit here. They count as dragoons, but they're not dragoons, because in these rules you can have light horse with a composite bow, but they got the same stats as dragoons. But I've upgraded them to make them veteran, because the few composite bow type troops that the Turks used were normally pretty effective, so I made them 6 points. So that's 24 points. Come over to the right, a much larger force, which no upgrades here. We've got 3 units of Sipahi cavalry, the same as these ones over here, and they're going to be trotters again. We've got 3 units of commanded shot, worth only 2 points each. And then we've got 2 units in the rear here of clansmen, or fanatical sword and shield guys, but they're listed as clansmen. And lastly, in the middle, we've got 3 units of infantry. They're all janissaries, so they've been upgraded to veterans, so they're pretty powerful, and they're worth 6 points each. Then we've got an artillery piece, and since the Turks in that period used pretty big guns, it's been upgraded to a field gun, not a regimental gun, so it's got a longer range. And then in the rear we've got another unit of Sipahi cavalry that have been upgraded to veteran with the leader. You notice I've got the leaders separate. They are in fact a part of the unit they're attached to. They're not in addition. I just like to have unit leaders on a separate base. They stand out a little bit better. I prefer that, but they're only there visually. If the unit's still only got 6 men in, and if they lose 3, there's only 3 left, it's not 4 there, it's still 3. So I just like to use my leaders separately. So there we go. What I'm going to do is, because this is going to take a long time, a normal game between 2 armies of 24 points would be, I don't know, an average about an hour and a half. And because I've got 6 divisions here, it would take too long for me to record the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all the moves and all the shooting, and then I'll come back and let you know what's happened. Just to sort of give you an idea of how the game goes. Right, so these are all the cards all along here, the ones I'm using. There we are. So I'm using gallopers, trotters, dragoons, shot, commanded shot, clansmen, and the regimental gun. Or in fact, that's been upgraded. So yeah. The markers on the front of the infantry here, the shot, are because in the first bound they do get a salvo fire, and they only get 1 in the game the very first time they shoot, and they do get an increase to their shoot value, so it goes up from 5+ to 4+, or in the case of the janissaries, it goes from 4+ to 3+, but only for the first move. So that's why those little counters are there, to remind me, because I am very forgetful these days. Right, so I'm going to do the first moves and I shall report back. This is going to be taking place over the next few days. I can't do it all in one go. I've got a few things on, so I shall do a few moves, then which I'll report on how they went. Then I'll come back and do a few more tomorrow, maybe moves the next day as well. So if the light varies a little bit in here, it's because I'm doing it maybe different times of the day. Also, because I think I mentioned earlier, I had some flickering. If I didn't mention it, I meant to. There's some flickering from the lights I've got. See, if I put the lights on here, although it brightens up the table, it was starting to flicker when I showed it on the video. So I'm going to see how we get on without light, the room lights are on, and if it gets too dark, obviously you've got to stop. So we'll see how it goes anyway. Okay, so let me give you an update of what's happened in the Turkish move. In here, the commanded shot opened fire and caused some casualties on the 2 dragoon units, but their courage test was fine. You'll notice the clansmen or the fanatics have moved up a little bit either side. This unit didn't move. Over here, the 2 units came up to support the unit that was on its own, the commander. They had to sort of do a slight manoeuvre, so they've come around this way. That's why they're not lined up with the others. So they're all together now. Over here, this unit opened fire on the cavalry and caused 3 casualties. So in fact, now that's got 3 casualties, I'll remove 1 from there and remove the dice. So that's the first casualty of the day. So it's reduced it down to half strength. It did a courage test and it was okay, so that was good. but it's now obviously at half strength. It's not going to be very effective. These both failed to open fire because, of course, when you shoot, they do need to roll a 7+ to be able to shoot. They're quite slow at shooting. So they haven't fired their salvo fire yet. Of course, the reason why that caused 3 casualties there is that this unit did fire its salvo fire, so it was quite devastating. The artillery opened fire and caused a casualty over here. 2 casualties, in fact, but again, the courage test was fine. And on the Turkish left, they both of these units were going to open fire on the cavalry in front of them, but they failed to do so. These did manage to move up, and these also then failed to shoot as well. Although they only shoot on 6+, they failed to do so. So some bad dice rolling for the Turks here, but a bit better in the middle. So that's where we are. It's the Poles' turn. So I'll come back later and let you know how they get on. Okay, so the Poles have just made their move. Over here, you can see the units here. These 2 units have had to fall back because they've taken casualties, and they are battered, or wavering in these rules, they call it. So the Poles are sort of slowly succeeding over there. Over here, nothing much happened because the attacking Poles failed to activate, or if they did, they didn't actually do any damage at all. So that was a bit of a waste of time. Into the centre here, this unit failed to shoot. The other 2 did, but didn't do enough damage to cause any problems. I think they got 1 hit over here, but it still wasn't a problem. They had a good morale test, or courage test. And this is the most interesting bit, because all 3 of these winged hussars charged in. They did cause casualties. This unit lost 2, this unit lost 3, and that lost 1. And the winged hussars themselves each lost a figure each. But when they did all the tests were fine, which means that the attacker has to fall back. So the winged hussars are falling back there, only taking 1 casualty on each unit, and cause more casualties, but not enough to force them to withdraw or to get a follow-up charge. And on the far left here, the dragoons did a skirmish move, so they opened fire, then fell back to fall out of range. So they're out of range of these that were here. But in fact, they took 2 casualties, and as you can see, there's only 4 men there now, and they did a poor reaction test. They've fallen back, battered anyway. So not a great deal of success. They've caused casualties, but not enough to make it a really good move for them. But it's now the Turks' move. So it's the Turks to move next. I'll do that, then I'll report back what happens. Okay, so some mixed reactions this time. Let's go over here first. This is the Turks, their move, they're attacking. These guys tried to charge into the wood, but the dragoons managed to fall back. They managed to evade. They did shoot, but they didn't kill any figures. First of all, these 2 units failed their courage test, so they've had to fall back, losing another figure each. They're both in trouble. These have moved up. They failed to do anything. Over here, this was interesting because this unit opened fire on the riders that were there, and devastating fire managed to kill 3 figures. And then they had a disastrous courage test. So this unit here, along with the leader, fled, which meant the rest of the that wing, the left wing of the Poles, had to do a courage test. This one you can see failed, so it's moved back. This one's already at half strength anyway. So the Polish left wing is looking decidedly weak. Coming over to the centre, a lot of shooting in the middle, some casualties caused over here, but their test was okay. Otherwise, nothing much happened there. The artillery failed to shoot, and so did one of the infantry units. And over here, these two units failed to do a caracole. This one, which was half strength anyway, did so and caused a casualty on the Poles in the middle, but they were okay. They didn't have a bad test. This cavalry has moved around here now, and the light horse archers failed another test and had to fall back, losing another figure. So at the moment, it's going to be the Poles' turn next, and they're in trouble on their left wing, and they need to really win over here, because the centre's become a bit of a firefight, which they could end up losing if they're not careful. So they need to do something on this wing and sweep round here in hope of holding over on the left. So we'll do those moves and get back to you, let you know what happened. Okay, an update on the Polish move. Nothing really happened over here. They rolled really badly, and those that did activate didn't do any real damage. The dragoons have moved into the wood slightly, so they're in range, but as I say, when they opened fire, they didn't cause a casualty. In the centre, the firefight continues, but not a great deal really happened. The artillery failed to open fire. The commander-in-chief has decided to bring his troops round here because that left wing is looking a bit dodgy. Big fight in the middle here. There was a unit here of Sipahi, and the first unit charged and didn't break them and fell back. The second unit charged, although causing a casualty like the first unit, but they didn't break them and they had to do a test and fall back. Or they tested fine and they had to fall back because the attacking unit must retreat if the unit stands there. And the third unit finally went in and broke the unit that was there. And because it broke the unit that was there, that destroyed it completely, it charged the second unit that was here and broke those as well. So that unit's done really well. It's taken 2 casualties, but it has managed to break the Turkish left, although there's still a strong cavalry unit here and half a unit there. But certainly that side has now opened up. The dragoons here failed to activate. So a reasonably good move for the Poles on their right wing. The centre isn't really doing a great deal. Bit of a firefight that no one's really doing much damage. Because it's, if you look at the shot, to shoot it's 7+ needed. There's a lot of not happening there, a lot of non-firing. So the centre's fairly stagnant. I think it's going to be a battle of the wings, and at the moment the Poles are winning on their right, but they're in danger of losing their left, and that's why the overall commander-in-chief's gone round. Right, so it's the Turks' move. I'm going to do that next and report back. Okay, an update. You can see here that this unit is still falling back. 2 more units. So over here, first of all, the clansmen charged into the dragoons, and although they won the melee and caused casualties, the dragoons' morale was fine. So the dragoons' courage was fine. So the clansmen had to fall back. They didn't win, they didn't beat the enemy, so they can't follow up. I imagine they just have to come back, which is what I've done. In here, in the wood, the other clansmen charged the dragoons that are there, but the dragoons managed to shoot and cause a casualty, and they just rolled a really bad courage test, so they've fallen back battered, or wavering as they are called in Pikeman's Lament. The dragoons are still okay there. In the centre here you can see a unit has fallen back. They got shot at, believe it or not, by this small unit here. They moved up and shot at them, caused a casualty, and they also did a very poor courage test, so they've fallen back battered. And you can see, over here, these didn't do anything, they just failed to activate. The winged hussars are coming around to try and retrieve the Polish left flank. In the centre, again, nothing much happened. A lot of shooting or not shooting, depending on how they activated, but nothing sort of happening there. The artillery keeps failing to shoot. Over here, the Poles are making more progress, and this unit is battered, so they're in trouble. This unit is still fresh, they're okay, but they're there on their own against 3 units of winged hussars and some dragoons, which failed to activate back there. So pretty mixed results, really. The Turks need to hold the left. The centre seems pretty stagnant, and on the right it's pretty close as to what's going to happen here. The Poles with the reinforcements coming around are probably now in a slightly stronger position. Okay, a little bit of a report here. The guys in the clansmen attacked the dragoons and finally defeated them, so they've got off the field. These opened fire but did no damage at all. These have recovered from their wavering situation, so they're both okay now. The unit that was here went off the table, bad courage test. The cavalry are coming round here to bolster up their left flank. In the middle, pretty useless shooting yet again by all the Turks. Really shooting at this range. They need to get a bit closer and hopefully roll a bit better. The shooting by the shot, which is they shoot on 7+, there's been a real problem with this game. They're just not doing enough damage. They possibly need to move up, so at least then they'll be hitting on higher figures. Even the Turks hitting on 5-6, the Janissaries, are just not doing the damage they should be doing. And they're just about to lose their left flank if they're not careful, so they need to turn something around. So now it's the Poles' turn. Oh, and the only other thing which I forgot to mention, as you can see, this unit here has pushed away the Reiters. They've only got 2 men there now, and they're battered, so they need to try and recover. Okay, so much to tell you. See if I can remember it all. A lot's happened this move. Right, this unit that was here got shot at by the dragoons. They lost a couple more figures, and then they did a disastrous courage test, so they've gone. So remove those. That's why they got the 6 there. They've disappeared. Over here, these failed to do any damage here. This managed to recover its courage test. The Hussars charged in, caused casualties, but then had to fall back because their morale was okay. And theirs was all right as well, but as the chargers, they had to fall back. These failed to move. Over here, this is where it has all gone terribly wrong for the Turks in the centre. The artillery opened fire and caused heavy casualties on the unit here, which then did a disastrous test. So they've gone. Then the infantry that were here were charged by the cavalry, and they lost that and did a bad test, and they went as well. Then the winged hussars charged into the artillery, and they've now gone as well because they did a disastrous test, having lost 3 figures in that turn because they've only got armour of 2, so they lost. In fact, they lost 4 figures, and then they rolled 2 ones, so they've gone as well. So the entire Turkish centre's suddenly gone. Over here, this unit charged that unit, and as you can see, it's got a 6 by it, and that's gone as well. And the other melee was a draw as far as casualties goes. The winged hussars had to fall back. both tests are okay, but because they were the attacker, they had to withdraw. So the Turkish left is completely broken because there's only one unit left now, which is this one on the left flank. So that's left has broken. I think I told you that I would break units once they lost more than half their points they started with. Well, there's only 6 points left in that left wing, so they're now broken. And much for the centre as well, because they've lost 2 Janissary units, each of 6 points. The artillery was also worth 6 points, that's 18 points. So the centre's gone, despite the commander trying to come round here to relieve the situation. He finds himself without much of a command, only this unit left. And on the right, they were doing their cavalry, haven't really done much at all. But then neither have the Polish trotter cavalry. They seem very reluctant to do much. They're hanging back, shooting, not doing very well. The winged hussars are coming round. But that means that the Turks have lost their left wing and the centre. So the game is over. And that all happened in that move. It just went crazy. I suppose, you know, the heavy casualties started to build up, and then a couple of more hits and some bad courage tests, and the entire army broke really quickly. The Poles were in trouble over here, but they've managed to retrieve the situation. If the Turks could have exploited the centre with their trotter cavalry, but if you look at the card, I'll hold it up for you here. You see they attack on 6+, and they shoot at 6+. And if they want to do the caracole, which is handy, that's 7+. So sometimes they just weren't doing anything. And I was trying to do caracole because they were often out of range. They needed to do half a move, and they just weren't doing it. And much the same for the Poles as well. So trotters are not sort of a game-winning combination. They're there to do damage, but they're not as effective as the gallopers. And with 2 fresh units of gallopers coming around here, quite frankly, that's just about to break as well, I would have thought. Although, you know, the right wing's done better than the left wing has, which had the majority of it was cavalry. So yeah, that was interesting. It just shows you that even a big game, I mean, I used 6 divisions here, 3 aside, and I don't know how long it's taken because I've done sort of various moves and had a break and come back. But you can play a game with much bigger forces. I used the method of rolling for every unit, no re-rolls, because that's not in these rules anyway. In theory, in these rules, once you foul, the whole command then stops moving. I decided not to do that. I would dice for every unit, and I prefer that method myself. It keeps the game moving. But yeah, it was an interesting game, and just shows you that you can do a bigger scale in terms of number of points being used. 15 mil on quite a small area of table. It was a bit wall-to-wall troops, I know that, but I just wanted to see what happened. And by having this system where once more than half the command has broken, that command breaks, it's meant the game is over. But it would have been over soon anyway, because these wouldn't have lasted. They've already lost 2 men. These are fresh, but they're outnumbered now. So the Poles would swing round here and wrap up the rest of the centre of the battlefield and attack the only wing that's doing quite well. But they weren't going to survive much longer, I don't think. So there we are. I hope you enjoyed that. It was an interesting game to do. I've got got a use out of my very old 15 mil Poles and Ottoman Turks. I used to use these back in the, crikey, late 70s, 80s maybe. Haven't used them for many years, and I've never sold them because they're one of the first armies I painted up many years ago. And well, not one of the first, but I bought some of the Turks I bought off of a friend of mine, and I added a lot to it. And it's just a nice army to keep if everyone did want to get back into 15mm. But they just sat in the boxes for the last probably 30 years. It's nice to have them on the table. Another game. Right, that's it for me, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you around. Hopefully we'll have another game sometime. See you soon.